So I looked around to see the kinds of plays that were succeeding, on and off Broadway. And I noticed, this was around the time of The Changing Room, The Contractor, Jumpers, where plays were set in extraordinary places. And it was clear that the audience didn't want something domestic. They didn't want a kitchen. They didn't want a living room, but they wanted seascape. They wanted a beach. They wanted a locker room. And so I tried to think of an environment that had never been put on the stage, that would be a very unlikely place to put on stage. And I thought of a museum, because in fact nothing happens in a museum. It's a temple of silence where people look. And I didn't want to use the museum as a meeting place for lovers or as a setting for a spy story. I wanted to write a play, that shows how art is consumed and how people go to museums because they want to be part of something larger than themselves, and how they want to appropriate it. And so I wrote this rather complicated play with 44 characters coming in and out of the museum. And people, have asked me, where's the structure? And I said, oh, well, the structure is very clear to me. The play begins with an announcement about the destruction of the birth of Venus at the Uffizi, that a hooded man pumped 23 bullets into this painting. And so immediately the audience knows that, that danger is afoot and that anything can happen. And in the course of the play, there are these small encroachments on the artwork, and the play ends with one of the pieces being dismantled, and the viewers taking it, stealing it and taking pieces of it out of the museum. And here I thought, well, I'm writing about aesthetics. They can't get me this time. But I guess I couldn't control my Randy side, and so I end with this enormous kind of act of destruction, and all of these people tearing apart this clothesline that has not only the clothes but the bodies inside the clothes. And I wanted them all put together with Velcro so that when somebody pulls off a head, there's that sound of the head being ripped off of the neck. And there were moments of sublime dizziness and of sublime destruction. But through some extraordinary series of fortunate strokes, Joseph Papp ended up doing it at the Public Theater. And because it was, because I was safe in that environment, we got mixed reviews, but, he couldn't boot me out after one night. And so we continued the run, and it was quite successful. And now the play is just done all over the country, by stock and amateur groups. And it just had a wonderful revival by the Keene Company 2 springs ago. But now it's done, with 17 actors who double and triple in their roles.